In Egypt, the year 1290 BC, High Priest Imhotep engages in an affair with Unaksunamun, mistress of the pharaoh Seti, despite strict rules prohibiting other men from touching her. When the pharaoh learns of their illicit relations, Imhotep and Unaksunamun murder him. Before the pharaoh's guards can learn of Imhotep's involvement, his priests take him away. Unaksunamun then kills herself in front of the guards. Later, Imhotep enters Unaksunamun's crypt after her burial and steals her body. In order to start the resurrection ceremony, he and his priests travel across the desert to Hamunaptra, the city of the dead. But before the ritual could be completed, they are apprehended by Seti's guards, and Unaksunamun's spirit is returned to the underworld. Imhotep's priests are sacrificed and mummified alive as punishment for their sacrilege, while Imhotep himself is subjected to the Ham-Dai curse by having his tongue cut out and being buried alive with a horde of flesh-eating scarabs. If he is ever raised from the dead, the ceremony will condemn him to become an immortal walking plague. In 1923, under the command of an American named Rick O'Connell, French Foreign Legion soldiers battle an overwhelming number of Medjai warriors at Hamunaptra. After the troops are slaughtered, O'Connell makes a last-ditch effort to flee the city, only to find himself surrounded by Medjai. However, they flee when Imhotep's evil presence manifests itself in the sand, leaving O'Connell to wander and die in the desert. In 1926, Evelyn Carnahan, a Cairo librarian and aspiring Egyptologist, receives a complex box and a map from her foolish brother Jonathan, who claims to have found them at Thebes. The museum curator, Dr. Bay, dismisses Hamunaptra as a myth and mistakenly destroys the map, despite the fact that it appears to mark the path to the lost city of Hamunaptra, where all of Egypt's treasure was allegedly kept. Jonathan admits he actually stole it from an American revealed to be O'Connell, who is currently in prison, and may be able to tell more about Hamunaptra. O'Connell tells her that he knows where the city is located from his time in the Foreign Legion. He makes a deal with Evelyn to reveal where Hamunaptra is situated. In exchange, Evelyn needs to find a way to save O'Connell from being hanged. Evelyn successfully negotiates his release from the prison warden by offering him 25% of the found treasure. However, the warden insists on coming along in order to protect his investment. They get on a ship to begin their journey to the city and run into a group of American treasure hunters who are being led by renowned Egyptologist Dr. Alan Chamberlain and being guided by Benny Gabor, a cowardly former Legion soldier who served with O'Connell and who also knows the location of the lost city. During their journey, the boat is attacked by Medjai soldiers who are looking for Evelyn's box and the map. O'Connell and the Americans manage to chase them off, but the map is lost and the boat goes up in flames, forcing the entire party to go ashore. After becoming separated from the other treasure hunters, O'Connell, Evelyn, Jonathan, and the warden purchase camels from a neighboring market. They arrive at Hamunaptra at the same time as the other party. Because of hostilities between the two parties, they begin exploring the city separately. Between the Anubis statue's legs, the Americans find a chest. They get a few of their carriers to open it, but the chest is booby-trapped, and the carriers are killed by an acid shower. In the meantime, Evelyn is searching for the Book of Amun-Ra, a solid gold book that is rumored to have the power to end life. Her crew unearths a tomb that is buried immediately beneath the Anubis statue. It turns out that Evelyn's box serves as a key to unlock the tomb. The warden had discovered a decorative scarab that actually housed a genuine scarab that ate its way into his body and brain. He suddenly dashes by while yelling in agony and runs into a wall and quickly dies. Following a peaceful evening spent outside, the Medjai, led by Ardith Bey, launch an assault on both groups. O'Connell ignites a stick of dynamite and threatens to blow everyone up in order to create a standoff. Ardith gives them 1 day to flee after warning them of the evil buried in the city. Then his groups ride away. The two expeditions ignore his advice and carry on with their individual tasks. The sarcophagus is opened to reveal Imhotep's bloody remains. The American team, in the meantime, opens the chest despite a warning on its lid that declares that anyone who removes its contents would perish. Each American takes a jar as booty, and Dr. Chamberlain takes the Black Book of the Dead together with the canopic jars containing Unaksunamon's preserved organs, but Benny flees the scene out of dread for the curse. Evelyn steals the Book of the Dead from the American's tent at night, along with her key, which fits on it. She unwittingly causes Imhotep's mummified corpse to come to life by reading aloud a page. The first plague appears right away as a swarm of locusts invades the countryside and drives everyone inside the city. The entire group is separated into smaller parties when a giant army of scarabs breaks loose and eats everything in its path. One of the Americans gets lost and is attacked by Imhotep, who takes his eyes and tongue while partially regenerating his body. Evelyn then encounters Imhotep, and he seems to recognize her as Unaksunamun. However, O'Connell shoots him down before everyone flees the catacombs. They run into Ardith and his army of Magi warriors again. He berates them for resurrecting Imhotep, who will now bring along death and destruction. The only option is to leave the city until they can find a way to kill him again. All of the group departs, but Benny is left behind. He too encounters Imhotep, but manages to convince him to spare his life and grants him permission to make him his slave. Both teams go back to Cairo. O'Connell and the Americans plan to leave Egypt, but Evelyn decides to stay, reasoning that releasing the curse was their fault, so they have the responsibility to stop Imhotep. The next epidemic appears that afternoon, warning that Imhotep is nearby when water turns to blood. Imhotep has been accompanied to Cairo by Benny, who is assisting him in tracking down the Americans. O'Connell and Evelyn track down the American whose eyes were stolen. They find his shriveled-up body, and Imhotep slowly regenerating his own. O'Connell starts shooting, but the bullets have no effect on Imhotep. Jonathan and the Americans arrive, but are taken down before they can do anything. Imhotep approaches Evelyn but ends up leaving after seeing a cat on the piano. The group visits the museum in the hopes that Dr. Bay, the curator, would provide some insights. When they discover him with Ardith Bay, they are shocked. Dr. Bay admits that he is a part of the covert organization determined to stop Imhotep's resurrection, which is why he purposely tried to burn the map. Since cats are the protectors of the underworld, he hypothesizes that Imhotep will fear them until he is entirely immortal. He also believes that Imhotep wants to revive Unaksunamun by using Evelyn's body to do so. They have to move quickly because a solar eclipse happens out of the blue. O'Connell locks Evelyn in her room to keep her safe from Imhotep, ordering the remaining 2 Americans to stand guard while he and Jonathan leave to warn Dr. Chamberlain. They see Imhotep killing Dr. Chamberlain in the streets, stealing the Black Book, and sending a swarm of flies out. Imhotep enters the room and kills the American before moving on to Evelyn. He turns into sand and sneaks into Evelyn's bedroom through the keyhole, where she is sleeping, and tries to kiss her. He is chased out of the room by O'Connell and Jonathan, who threaten him with a cat. Evelyn makes the assumption that as Imhotep was revived by the Black Book of the Dead, then the Gold Book of Amun-Ra should be able to kill him. Evelyn concludes that the Gold Book must be buried beneath the statue of Horus after the gang discovers a tablet in the museum that describes where both books are. A large group of natives who are under Imhotep's hypnotic control and covered in boils and sores surround the museum at that very moment. The heroes escape the museum in a car, but Imhotep captures and eats the last American before they can escape. Finally cornered by his followers, the fully regenerated Imhotep offers Evelyn to come with him in exchange for letting the others go. She agrees, but Imhotep goes back on his word as they are leaving. Dr. Bay risks his life by stopping the followers' stampede as the others escape through the sewers. Winston Havelock, a disillusioned World War I fighter pilot, agrees to fly O'Connell, Jonathan, and Ardith to Hamunaptra. Imhotep returns to Hamunaptra in a sandstorm, carrying Evelyn and Benny, pursued by Havelock's plane. Imhotep utilizes his supernatural abilities to produce a massive sandstorm to destroy the plane, but he gets distracted by Evelyn's kiss, and only manages to allow the plane to make an emergency landing, killing only Winston. When O'Connell, Jonathan, and Ardith enter Hamunaptra, they find a brand new section filled with the city's renowned treasures. They swiftly engage Imhotep's revived mummy priests in combat, so they retreat to the statue of Horus and discover the Book of Amun-Ra there. However, when cornered by the priests, Ardith sacrifices himself to allow O'Connell and Jonathan to escape. Meanwhile, Imhotep has revived Anck-su-namun's mummified corpse and is about to sacrifice Evelyn when O'Connell and Jonathan step in. O'Connell manages to free Evelyn from a group of mummies, while Jonathan reads an inscription on the book in order to kill Imhotep. Unfortunately, this only summons a group of mummified guards, who go after O'Connell, while Evelyn is attacked by the resurrected Anck-su-namun. Jonathan succeeds in finishing the inscription, giving him command over the guards just before they kill O'Connell. He instructs them to kill Anck-su-namun instead. Imhotep turns his anger towards O'Connell, while Jonathan and Evelyn succeed in opening the Book of Amun-Ra. Imhotep is about to kill O'Connell when Evelyn recites the counter-curse. Imhotep's immortal soul is taken from him, and he becomes mortal. O'Connell fatally stabs him and starts to rapidly decay into a mummy once more. Imhotep leaves the world of the living, vowing revenge. Benny, who was secretly dragging treasure outside, accidentally sets off an ancient booby trap. As Amenhotep begins to collapse, O'Connell, Evelyn, and Jonathan race towards the exit, with Jonathan accidentally dropping the gold book. Benny tries to escape. O'Connell tries to help him, but it's too late. Benny is left behind. While trapped inside, he is attacked and eaten by a swarm of flesh-eating scarabs. The heroes escape Amenhotep before disappears in the sand. Ardith, who has unexpectedly survived, waits for them outside and thanks them for their help. They ride off into the sunset on a pair of camels laden with Benny's treasure.